Well done, Leeds United. Absolute fantastic result. And trust me, it can be difficult when doing these videos to put your clad in blue specs to one side. Sometimes I find it quite easy, but when it directly impacts West Ham, that's when it can get a little bit frustrating to do. But credit where it's due. Leeds were absolutely brilliant against Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea were terrible, and when the lineups come out and I've seen how many changes Enzo Maresca made, I thought, oh no, I feared the worst. I thought Leeds were going to go on and win that game. But I don't want to take anything away from that performance from Leeds United, because it's not just the 90 minutes against Chelsea, it's also the second half against Manchester City as well. 3 consecutive halves of football where they've used their new formation, their new strategy, and they've yielded 5 goals against Manchester City and Chelsea. That's a fabulous return and an important performance for Leeds United, for Leeds United fans, and also for Daniel Farke, because it feels like he's stumbled upon this a little bit, because I've seen Leeds United fans wanting this formation for weeks now. And I always say that football fans are football fans. Everyone has opinions and they're entitled to it. But those that work at football clubs and get paid a lot of money to do so, they are the football experts. However, when the majority, and I'm talking, 80% of the fan base want the same thing, there's something in that. I think football fans deserve credit sometimes. I think that's where I'm coming in terms of Leeds United. I've seen a lot of their fans wanting this. And it's finally happened at half-time against Manchester City, and they went on to score 2 in that half. Yes, they went on to lose the game anyway, but I believe it was a good performance from Leeds. And they've taken it into that game at Elland Road against Chelsea, and it's worked. The tactics worked perfectly. I thought it was a real high-energy performance from Leeds United, and Chelsea just couldn't cope. They got bullied by Leeds at Elland Road. I thought Bogle, Ampadu, Goodmanson, I thought they were absolutely brilliant. I'm a huge fan of Goodmanson. I'd never heard of him before Leeds United signed him. I'm not going to pretend I knew who he was, but whenever I watch Leeds, he's someone I'm very impressed with. And I know Farke's pointed out that they've conceded goals down that side of the pitch, and he dropped him for the previous game against Manchester City. But I think him moving to that wing-back role, because I think going forward, dribbling with the ball, he gets that byline, he puts in decent crosses as well. I think it's really going to benefit him in particular. And if you can increase that supply chain from Goodmanson on the left-hand side, I think Calvert-Lewin in particular, as well as Nemecha, will really benefit from that supply. I like what Leeds United have done here. An important win, hosting Liverpool at the weekend, and you ain't going to go against them. But a very disappointing loss for Chelsea. And I think Maresca just got it wrong. He rested too many players. I understand Reece James, completely understand that due to his injury record. But then not playing Gusto, not playing Neto, it was just too many changes for my liking. And they got intimidated, and they needed to be tough. It's a tough place to go, Elland Road, because of the atmosphere, especially midweek. And I think it's going to be a tough place to go this season as well, because Leeds, while their fan base have belief, which they do, I think that atmosphere is going to be absolutely brilliant. I think 5:30 on Saturday, if I didn't have a dog in the relegation fight like I do, being a West Ham fan, I'm sort of dreading it. But if West Ham were fine or Leeds were higher up the table or something, I'd be looking forward to this game, because it's hard not to fancy Leeds. Farke might have stumbled upon something here, but it's up to him now to stick with it and to improve it, evolve it. You've got the foundations now. Can you go on and get Leeds out of this relegation battle? That's the big challenge. It still is a big challenge, but brilliant win for them against Chelsea. Brighton 3, Aston Villa 4. This was a lovely game of football. I was flicking between the two, so I started off by watching the Brighton Villa game, and then there was a minute to go in the first half, and Leeds was kicking off. So I think there was 6 minutes of stoppage time, 5 minutes have been played, and I thought 1 minute, I went out for a goal kick or something. I thought nothing's going to happen. I'm going to put the Leeds game on now. Then it came up in the Leeds game. Oh, there's been another goal. It's 2-2. Ollie Watkins has got his second. Typical, isn't it? So I missed some of the goals between Brighton and Aston Villa, but I watched most of the game. I think I got an hour of the match and 90 minutes of the Leeds-Chelsea game on Wednesday night. An enjoyable game. Brighton went 2-0 up, and Villa were just nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Emery was losing his rag on the touchline, understandably, but they got back into it with Ollie Watkins, and he got a second one. Important. I think it's important for him. It came out during the week that he's been playing with an injury for almost a year now, and there's just no cover for him. They can't afford to rest him, so he's been playing through this, and that explains a lot, I think. So to see him get a brace, I was pleased for him, because when a player's putting their body on the line like that, I like to see them get rewarded. There's nothing better as a football fan, knowing that one of your players is just really playing through that pain barrier because he wants to play for your team every week, and he's putting his body on the line. It makes you feel good as a football fan. It makes you root for him. And I can kind of do it as a neutral as well. So when I seen Ollie Watkins scoring, I thought, good. I'm glad he's getting his reward here, because he's not had the best start to the season. I think his performances have been okay. I think he's had a couple of good games, although he's not been scoring. But he's got a couple of goals now. This is a disappointing defeat for Brighton, I think. At home, 2-0 up. And then they were 4-2 down at one point. They got a goal late on to make it 4-3, but they didn't really come close to an equaliser, in my opinion. And I think this is a bit of a blow for them. It's early on in the season, but Aston Villa now third in the league. I'm telling you, they are not getting the credit it deserves. I had Sky Sports on this morning, and it was before Arteta's press conference ahead of the game against Villa on Saturday, and he said, "Oh, Arteta's not keen on the fixture congestion and stuff like that." And it said, if Arsenal win, they could go further ahead, but if they don't, then Aston Villa will, I think it'd be like 3 points behind Arsenal or something. I'm like, hang on a minute, let's not just gloss over that. If Villa, it's a big if Villa beat Arsenal, they're right behind them in the title race. Do I think Villa are in the title race? No, but the league table would suggest otherwise. They are just doing their business. Winning away to Brighton is not an easy thing to do. That's a very hard place to go. They've been quite good at home for quite some time now, Brighton. I always say they're inconsistent, and someone pulled me up on it, which is fine in my last video, but I just explained that until recently, in the first 3 months of the season, they hadn't won back-to-back games. Got 3 wins and a draw in November, great month, but bang, they've just gone and lost to Aston Villa. But what I will say is they are consistently good at home. I think it's when they're on their travels, that's what they need to improve. But this is a huge win for Aston Villa. It finished Newcastle 2, Spurs 2. I don't know how. I promise you. I sometimes come to do these videos. I think, I can't say this. It's going to feel like, it's going to come across as I've just got an agenda. And obviously in this instance, it's against Spurs. And being a West Ham fan, it doesn't help my case if I'm going to try and sit here and say, look, I promise you, this isn't anti-Spurs for the sake of it. I promise you it's not. But it's going to come across like that because I'm doing it in every video. They are not good. I don't know how they got a point. Well, I do know how they got a point in this. A diving header from Romero and an overhead kick, which he shinned. But Romero, 2 great goals by him. But the rest of the team, they just weren't good. Newcastle were by far the most comfortable team here. They were by far the better team. Finally scored through Bruno. That penalty, though, I can see both sides of the argument. You haven't seen it, go watch it. Bentancur on Dan Burn. And on first watch, when I seen it back the first time, I thought, surely not. This feels a bit soft. But then the more I watched it, I did what I hate watching happen. When referees go to the monitor and they watch it more than like 3 times, I think, well, it's obviously not clear and obvious, therefore stick with your original decision. You need to watch it 4 or 5. You're now convincing yourself to change your mind at this point. But I did that. I was guilty. I was a bit of a hypocrite, actually, because after 3 or 4 times watching it, I thought, do you know what? That is a pen, because Bentancur, he's not looking at the ball at any point. At any point does he look at the ball. He doesn't know where it is. He's got one job, and that's to stop Dan Burn. Now, I think Burn's given a little bit of it as well, but it's a difficult one because you don't want to see pens given all the time for a little bit of physicality in the box. Otherwise, we'd have a lot of penalties every single game, and we can't be having that. But I do think Bentancur just went too far here. He wasn't looking at the ball whatsoever at any point. Yeah, in the end, I convinced myself, but I felt a little bit like a hypocrite changing my mind after watching it 3 or 4 times. Bad Gio. As for Tottenham, listen, it's a good point away from home. It is, drawing away to Newcastle. You know, Newcastle away from St James's Park has been a little bit iffy this season, but at St James's Park, they won 6 in a row prior to this game, so that is a difficult place. It's a good point, but the performance ain't convincing me. This ain't Spurs turning things around. This is Spurs getting off with it. Bournemouth 0, Everton 1. It was a boring game. I picked the wrong game. Fulham Man City was there. In fairness, right, I'll tell you why I didn't watch Fulham Man City. I tend not to watch Man City very much. If they're the only game on, so say Sunday 4:30, it's Man City v someone, I'll watch it because there's no alternative, right? But Saturday 3 p.m, Sunday 2 p.m, midweek game as it was here, and there's an alternative match, it's very rare I will pick the Man City game. I find their matches quite boring. I find the style of play that Man City play, I think it can be quite low tempo, very not always the most exciting, and because of the way they play, I think sometimes it makes the opposition difficult to be exciting as well. So I think sometimes their matches can be quite low on the entertainment scale. Now, I appreciate I've tuned into Bournemouth Everton here instead. You're going to say, well, what were you expecting? But I just don't watch much Manchester City. I watch a lot of their games because they are often on that 12:30, 5:30, 4:30 slot where they're the only match. So if I can avoid them, I tend to. So I tuned in for Bournemouth Everton thinking I was going to have the better game, the less boring game. Well, I was wrong. Bournemouth are just not good at the minute. 1 point in 5 games. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. It doesn't matter who you are. Whether you're Wolves, Burnley, Leeds, West Ham, Bournemouth, Arsenal, 1 point in 5 games is a really bad return. And they started the season so well, so much promise. Semenyo's gone off the boil completely. Ever since that news about his release clause come out, it's dried up. Goals, assists, they've stopped. His performances are not great either. It's not even like he's playing well. It's just not coming off him. He's not playing that well either. He's just going through a poor spell. There's got to be a conversation. Does Areola drop him? I think the answer would be, well, probably. I think, do you go with Brooks, Kluivert, Tavernier, Adley, whatever, three from those 4 instead, and just put Semenyo on the bench for the game? It's very possible they're going to be without him soon anyway, so I think they might as well do it now. Did they qualify? Yeah, they must have qualified for the African Cup of Nations. A bit of my brain saying they didn't qualify, but they must have done. Right. We'll move on. Anyway, a good win for Everton. So I was pleased to see Jack Grealish score, albeit via deflection. But I like him. I really like Jack Grealish. I'm rooting for him. I think his loan spell started really, really well, but it's dipped a little bit. But I'm not seeing a £50 million player here. I think it would be unwise for Everton to spend £50 million on him, but they kind of need him. The fans love him. He's an exciting player to watch. And I think that's why I'm tuning into Everton at the minute. Players like Jack Grealish can do stuff. And when he gets on the ball, I like it. Even if he's just getting fouled by the opposition, that can bring a little bit of entertainment, that personal battle, that duel between the two of them. But he's got his goal now. Good goal. Well, I'll say good goal. Lucky goal. But you make your own luck in football sometimes. An important win for Everton to a good 3 points. They were a little bit close to that relegation zone, but beating Man United, getting thumped by Newcastle, then beating Bournemouth. 2 good results in there just to pull them away from that relegation pack. At the Molineux, it finished Wolves 0, Nottingham Forest 1. Wolves. What do you say? Now, for clarity, I've watched all the games up until now. I've not seen these games. But no goal in 5. 2 points after 14 games is horrendous. The worst since Sheffield United. Only Sheffield United have had a bad return. Derby County, who had 11 points, had more points on the board at this stage of the season than Wolves. Southampton, who got 12 points last season, had more points on the board than Wolves do right now. That's how bad Wolves are. Rob Edwards has gone in there. It's made no difference whatsoever. They've not even scored. Never mind picked up a point or anything. But don't worry. They're playing Man United on Monday. There's hope for you yet, Wolves fans. Hang on in there. But this is an important win for Nottingham Forest. I think it was just one of them, just get the 3 points. I've seen some Nottingham Forest fans suggesting that it was a bit of an ugly game of football and it was 2 poor teams. But they got the 3 points. That was the most important thing. I think when you're down the bottom, to some extent, it doesn't really matter how you get them. You just get points on the board. Worry about the performances later if you ever get to that comfort. A big win. It finished Manchester United 1, West Ham 1. I think we played okay in some spells. I think we were pretty poor in other spells as well. And our lack of squad depth is really showing. There's just little options for Nuno. And I don't think he likes some of the options he's got, which is making a small squad, or a poor squad rather, even smaller. So we've got the numbers, but because Nuno doesn't like quite a few of them, it's suddenly a small squad and there's a lot of young players involved. But it's a good point. It's difficult because you look at the league table, we're in the bottom three, 2 points behind Leeds, so it feels like a bad point. But I don't think it is. I think it's a good one. I feel like the last 5 minutes we could maybe have nicked it. I thought there was momentum on our side after we got the equaliser. But Nuno decided to put an extra defender on, take the point. And I get it. I do understand it. But just from a fan's perspective, I would have liked to have seen us try and get the win because I think we were good enough at that point. Like I said, for 85 minutes, maybe not. But for that, once we got the goal, we were putting the pressure on Man U. And I think they were getting a little bit worried. I think maybe, just maybe, we could have nicked that. However, a decent point. But Man U, another poor performance from them at Old Trafford. The fans were booing at full time. Understandably so, and rightly so as well, because this isn't a new manager. They've seen that script over and over and over again, and they're playing Wolves next at Old Trafford. They're probably not confident they're going to win that game. A team that's got 2 points after 14 games, they're probably thinking, oh, will we win? 1 point from playing a 10-man Everton who got a player sent off after 13 minutes, and then playing West Ham who were third bottom. 1 point from those two games. It's not good enough. It's not good enough for Manchester United. Liverpool 1, Sunderland 1. All the focus on Liverpool failing to win again, but it should be on Sunderland picking up another really good point away from home. They just keep plodding along, Sunderland, don't they? They took the lead, and I don't think there was any surprises when it came through that Sunderland were leading. No surprise whatsoever. And when I've seen the highlights, they were unlucky not to win. And all the attention will remain on Liverpool. But well done, Sunderland. Finished Arsenal 2, Brentford 0. I've seen some criticism for Keith Andrews rotating the side, dropping. That's the wrong word. It's not drop. He didn't drop anyone. He's rested. He's rested his quite key players. Collins, Henderson, Damsgaard, Thiago. He made it very clear he was going to Arsenal with damage limitation in mind. Just keep the score low. I'll rest my main players and we'll go again at the weekend. He wrote this game off. And do you know what? I get it. I completely get it. I think he's got his starting 11 plus 1 or 2, Keith Andrews. He's got a really settled team there. He doesn't make too much changes to his starting 11. So he's looking after those key players. He's looking after the players he's looking at, thinking, if we lose him, we're in trouble here. This could hurt us badly. And I know people say, well, what are you doing that for, going to Arsenal, writing off and stuff? They could have, and I know it's a bit, if my auntie had my uncle and all that, but he could have played his strongest 11 and got beat anyway. The chances are he would have done. I understand what he's done. I get from a Brentford fans' perspective why it's disappointing, because you want to try and win every game. But I also get what Andrews has done here. But for Arsenal, it's an important win. They've just got to keep picking up the wins. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. It doesn't really matter. They've just got to get the 3 points from every single game. Lost a couple of players due to injuries as well during the game, which isn't ideal, and Arteta is rightly worried going into that game against Aston Villa. But an important win for them. Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1. Looked like a bit of a low-quality game. Crystal Palace only had 4 shots. Burnley had more shots, but Palace won 1-0. Munoz scoring again. Turned out to be sort of like one of the best players in the Premier League this season. One of the most consistent players in the Premier League this season anyway. But a win for Palace, albeit a very uninspiring match. I only seen the highlights, but even they managed to make the game look a bit boring. And it finished Fulham 4, Man City 5. This is the game I should have. To be fair, right, when it came through, it was Fulham 1, Man City 5. Doku/own goal made it 5-1. I thought, boring game. I felt justified watching at what was at that point a 0-0, right? Then suddenly, boom, 5-2, 5-3, 5. Oh, hang on a minute. My finger was twitching over the remote. I was thinking, just turn over. What happens if Fulham get an equaliser and I've missed it? But what a game of football that would have been to watch. I wish I watched it now, but it is what it is, and I opted for the wrong games. I thought that would be the boring one, and I got it wrong. That turned out to be the most exciting one. But Fulham, listen, they got beat. They're not far away from the relegation zone, but scoring 4 goals against Manchester City, seeing Chukwueze get a couple of goals as well, there's a bit of positivity to take from that match. As for Man City, Pep was all full of laughs and smiles after the game, and it's just important that they won it. And I think he'll be a bit worried that, they were 5-1 up and it finished 5-4. It would have been a bit at one point for Man City towards the end. But they've just got to keep the pressure on Arsenal. They've got to keep picking up their wins and just say to Arsenal, go on then, your turn now. I keep referring to that game against Villa. It's a very difficult one. If Arsenal slip up, even drawing it just opens the door a little bit for the likes of Man City. Say, come on then, come and have a pop at us. And I think they will. Haaland is in ridiculous form. Of course, he's back on the score sheet after blanking when I triple captained him in FPL. So there you go. Don't take any fancy league tips from me. I've stopped doing them. Not because I'm crap. I'm crap at FPL this season. I'm trying. I've only missed 1 week. Out of the 14 weeks so far, I've only forgot to do my team once. I am trying. I am just rubbish. For this week, right? I'll be honest with you. For this week, this Saturday week, I transferred in Reece James. Didn't even get on the pitch. And even if he was on the pitch, they got beat 3-1 by Leeds United. That's how bad at FPL I am. I brought in Reece James. He didn't even play a minute. Anyway, here's a tip. Use your transfers, though, because after game week 15 or 16, Google it, you get 5 free transfers. So there's no point keeping any. So you might as well use them up if you want them. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Well done, Leeds United, though. They were the sort of performers of the week. A big, 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 big win for them against Chelsea. Weekend up ahead already. Quick turnaround in fixtures. More important games coming up. I'll be back later on today with my Premier League preview and prediction show. And I'm quite looking forward to doing a shout out. I don't know. I'm not tallied it up. There's a possibility I've won my own competition this week because I've got quite a few score predictions on the nose. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Please do drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new to Tartan Geo. Catch you in a bit.